stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
Good thing about doing comedy in Russia, you have captured audience.
You're stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
Comedy History 101.
But anyways, it's funny you mentioned Amy Schumer, because, well, first of all, welcome to our latest episode of our podcast,
Comedy History 101.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
I'm Harmon Leon, and with me today is...
I'm Scott Colonico coming at you from Edinburgh, Scotland, on the other side of the Atlantic. Edinburgh.
There we go. And it's so funny that you mentioned up front Amy Schumer, because it ties into the topic of today's podcast, which is comedy joke thieves.
Comedy joke thieves. Yeah, she's pretty... if you do a little Google search for Amy Schumer, joke thieves kind of pops up there at the top of the list.
It does, and there's actually a bunch of supercut videos where they go head-to-head with several bits of hers, comparing it to the original source to how her rendition of that.
Right.
And I think we'll dive into that a bit further later on. I have a few theories on that, but, you know, as long as people have been telling jokes, there's been people stealing them.
Right. Okay. All right.
Like, you buy that premise?
No, I'm not arguing with that. I'm behind it. Okay. Yes. And.
Yeah. Well, it's just like a joke, like a comedian on stage. You can't copyright a joke unless it's like, you know, something that's on like a T-shirt or something like that. But, you know, as far as just like, you know, a person, a microphone, a live scenario, you can't really copyright that. So, you know, thus in, you know, the world of comedy, and we've all seen it, there's always been joke thieves, whether they're just like, you know, hacky comedians on the road, you know, doing, you know, one night circuit in like, you know, Indiana or something like that, to, you know, more famous people.
Yeah. Okay. So does this happen in the old timey days?
As a matter of fact, stealing material is nothing new. Even Stan Laurel of Laurel and Hardy once said, all comedians steal from comedians. So if you look back, like on the old timey days of vaudeville and like, what was it called, the Catskill circuit, like all those comedians were just doing each other's material.
Right. Okay. So but that was kind of the thing, though, right? There would be the jokes that everybody would do. Exactly.
So I actually read the book Leave 'Em Laughing, the Tommy Cooper biography of British comedian Tommy Cooper, and even back in like the British music hall days, everyone was just doing everyone else's jokes, and there was like some story in that where like a comedian would be watching another comedian, you know, back in those sort of vaudevillian days and go, oh my God, that joke's so great, I can't wait to use it.
Okay, yeah, all right.
But probably one of the most famous old-timey joke thieves was the legendary Milton Berle.
Right, okay. Uncle Milty.
Uncle Milty, he was known as the Thief of Bad Gag, which I guess is a play of the Thief of
Baghdad. Yes, okay.
Yeah, which I think that was a movie or something in old-timey days.
Old-timey, yeah.
So he was just known for stealing jokes his whole entire career. That was like kind of Uncle Milty's thing. It was like, he's the guy that steals the jokes.
Right.
I feel great. I really feel wonderful. I just got back from a pleasure trip. I took my mother-in-law to the airport.
Yeah.
So like even one of his jokes was noted to be went all the way back to the 4th century.
Okay. What was the joke? Do you know?
I read it on a post, and it was really long, and it just had to do with some man's like wife.
Okay.
Bob Hope once remarked that Milton Berle never heard a joke he didn't steal.
Okay. All right.
Jack Benny defended his practice of using Milton Berle's material by saying, when you take a joke away from Milton Berle, it's not stealing, it's repossessing.
Okay, all right.
And Milton Berle once joked to Larry King I don't steal people's jokes. I just find them before they're lost.
Oh dear. Okay. All right. So, well, Uncle Milty was.
And another thing about Milton Berle, little trivia. Do you know the trivia fact I'm about to state?
It has a big penis.
Biggest schlong in Hollywood.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. I wonder if we could look that up. Could we? Maybe we should do a podcast about that.
The big schlongs of comedy history.
Or just Milton Berle's schlong. That's like an album title.
That's a band.
Yeah, it's a band. I know. Oh, but remember, if you remember, you can drop in another sound clip here. The metal band Rat.
Round and round, what comes around goes around. I'll tell you why.
Yeah, that was Milton Berle's nephew.
That was his nephew, yeah, because Milton Berle's in the video. Yes.
Yeah, I forgot who said that. It was maybe someone from Rat, and they're like, "Why is Milton Berle in this?" It was like from like the very earliest days of MTV.
Right, yeah, it's from like '83 or something.
But here is something that astonished me that I only recently found out. I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was interviewing fellow San Francisco comedian Al Madrigal. And Al Madrigal said that the Abbot and Costello's Who's on First bit was actually a bit like a lot of people were doing.
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who is on first?
Have you got a first baseman on first?
Certainly.
Then who's playing first?
Absolutely.
So that was actually a bit a lot of comedians were doing on the vaudeville circuit. And when Abbott and Costello first did the bit on radio, which I think was in maybe 1948-ish, all these other like comedy teams from vaudeville were really pissed off because it meant they couldn't do the bit anymore.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there was kind of like a lot of those. We watched that one with the guy with the drawn-on glasses. What was that one?
Oh, that's a different comedy team than the one. But like wordplay bits like Who's on First originated in the black minstrel shows and early vaudeville and burlesque. Yeah, one of the early burlesque routines that was kind of like wordplay that was kind of uncanny like Who's on First is called the Baker Scene. Which is sort of recreated in a 1946 radio show called It Pays to Be Ignorant. And they called the routine Who's the Boss?
Please, let's get this. Look, what's the man's name you're working for? Who? The boss, the man you're working for. What's his name?
I told you.
You did not. You asked me his name.
Why should I ask you his name? I know his name.
Well, what is it?
Who?
The boss. Who is the boss?
That's right. What's right? No. What? No. What is the shipping clerk? Who is the shipping clerk? No. Who is the boss?
Wait a minute. That's what we're trying to find out.
Oh, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Mr. Sheldon, tell me, you have a boss, haven't you? Certainly I have a boss. When you go to work in the morning, do you call your boss something? Oh, sure. But I don't let him hear me.
No.
No, I mean, don't you say, good morning, Mr. So-and-so? Why should I? Mr. So-and-so is the janitor. Who is the janitor? No! Who is the boy?
Okay, so the Baker Scene, but what was it? It was Cracked Nuts. That was the one we were watching, right, with the drawn-on glasses guy?
No, that's a different comedy team than so the Cracked Nuts is this again this comedy team called Wheeler and Wosley, and it was a movie called and also this is kind of weird. It was a 1931 movie called Cracked Nuts, and just for the record, the clip we're going to drop in cost me $37 because I actually couldn't find it on YouTube anywhere, and I had to send away for the DVD to get it. But so it's like kind of like a fictional. The movie's kind of like Duck Soup in a way, kind of like a fictional kingdom, and it's a bit called Which Is What. So it's like this town is next to the town of what? It's like what? Exactly.
What?
You leave Azazaz and proceed in a northerly direction to the town of what?
What?
That's right.
What's right?
What's right?
That's what I said. What's right?
Well, I agreed with you, didn't I?
On what?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Listen, remember my nasty temper. What town is it?
That's what?
That's all I wanted to know. What town is next to what?
Which?
Next to what?
Which?
Which is next to what?
Yes.
I'm sorry I asked you. Go ahead.
Well, now that that's all cleared up.
Who?
And what
Which?
is next to which? Which is next to what? Precisely.
That's what I'm asking you.
That's what I'm asking you. And General Diddy just died. Did he?
Okay.
Precisely. So it's kind of like that, just a lot of that maddening sort of wordplay.
Right.
And then again, so you think, okay, Abbott and Costello were either a product of their time and just, like everyone else, everyone was doing everyone else's bits, or Abbott and Costello were a bunch of hacks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's your take on it?
Well, I think they're a product of their time. Everyone was doing everyone else's bits because it was like vaudeville and burlesque, and that was sort of, the norm. Obviously, Who's On First is, it's one of the classic comedy routines.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different then because also you don't have that easy access to recorded material. Everything was all verbal. So if somebody did somebody else's bit, you would have no proof. You were just okay, yeah, they would all have this this repetition of bits that audiences knew. Audience would go in there and they go, I've heard this bit. It's funny. These guys are funnier than the other guys who do the bit. The whole kind of wordplay thing has been. I was just watching a clip from Police Squad with Leslie Nielsen. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in like Naked Gun and an Airplane. There's a lot of that. Captain Over, Under, who? That.
Yeah. I am serious, and Don't Call Me Shirley.
Don't Call Me Shirley.
That kind of yeah. But yeah, I think it's just like a product of their time. But again, going back to that radio show, It Pays to Be Ignorant. There is an uncanny Abbott and Costello bit that's exactly like a bit on theirs. Again, same kind of wordplay. Like I think Abbott comes in and he just got a job in a bakery as a loafer or something like that, and he's like. What's your job? I'm a loafer. We know you're a loafer. But what's your job? That kind of like.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Again, it's, the same routine.
That's what I'm telling you. He's the shortstop.
Then again, if you go to modern age, you got like shows like Little Britain where essentially the series just ends up them just rehashing the same bits over and over again.
Yeah, over and over again. That's why
the same catchphrases, the same whatever. So I think the stealing jokes in vaudeville time was, of course there's no Twitter. Or was there? Whoa.
No, there was.
In vaudeville times?
Yeah, no, there was no Twitter. But it was like, people could react, reacting to videos, like the Fine Brothers. Teens react to Abbott and Costello.
There you go. Teams react to Wheeler and Wosley.
Oh my god, dude.
The guy. No, we'll do another podcast on lost comedy duos.
Okay, yeah.
Because I forgot the name of that duo, but that was a guy. Yeah, he had drawn-on glasses, but it wasn't Wheeler and Wosley.
Okay. Oh, that wasn't that. Well, as long as we do Shields and Yarnell, I'm happy.
It's kind of like those forgotten comedy duos. The reason they're forgotten, they kind of sucked.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, they're pretty good. We would remember that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Like I was hoping for Wheeler and Wosley. I want to be like, oh my god, did I rediscover something that's like so wonderful?
Yeah.
And then it's just like really slow and what? That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's like if you go on the internet here and you put Joke Thief in, names that seem to pop up are people like Amy Schumer or Dennis Leary,
Carlos Mencia.
Carlos Mencia. Yeah. So, would you say he's the most notorious joke thief of our current time?
I don't think so. I mean, I think people know. I mean, about him. I mean, I had friends who worked at the club where he would play. I mean, that, and then there's also the Robin Williams story.
Mm-hmm.
About him.
Which is what?
Which is basically people would, like, if they saw him come into a club, they would try to stop doing their material because they knew that he would probably, I don't know if steal would be the right word, maybe appropriate, some of the material.
Steal, appropriate, and then also, again, it's like if you listen to like the interviews with him, like on WTF, it was like, he's like absorbing things. So it's like hard to say, you're absorbing things, and then it's like you forget where you picked it up from, and then you're saying it on stage. I guess that would just be stealing.
Yeah, stealing, but you don't really. I mean, that's kind of what when people jump to Robin Williams' defense, they're just like, yeah, he's just because he's so rapid fire, he's just throwing things off the top of his head. He might see something that somebody else had done, and then he'll throw it out there just because,
But I guess to put this in modern context. Conan O'Brien, just last month, a lawsuit was filed against him by a San Diego comedian named Robert, in parentheses, Alex Kasberg, who is claiming that 5 jokes that Conan O'Brien used, that he used on his comedy blog.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so this is just last month. And again, this ties into like the bigger thesis of some people that are claiming that their jokes are being stolen, or some people claiming are being accused of joke thieves. I looked at the jokes that were being accused of being stolen by Conan O'Brien, like used in his monologues, and I think it's like a thing with like really topical jokes that are just like in the news. It's like a lot of people are going to come to the same sort of conclusions on those type of jokes because they're kind of generic. So like, here's one of the jokes Conan O'Brien is accused of stealing from the San Diego comedian named Robert, in parentheses, Kasberg. A Delta flight from Cleveland to New York took off with only 2 passengers. They wrestled for controls of the armrests the entire flight.
Okay.
I mean, that's an airplane joke.
So what's the
funny bit?
Yeah, what's the funny bit of this joke?
Well, that's not. I mean, that's a topic for another podcast. What's the funny bit of this joke?
Right.
Or a podcast in itself.
Right. Yeah. No. I know. That'll be like one of those sub podcasts. But for this podcast, like what? No. But seriously, what's the funny part that the 2?
There's only 2 passengers on a flight, and they're wrestling for arm rest.
Okay, flight. But so do the airline? I mean, is there like a Delta joke in here? So, is there like a thing where Delta people fight a lot, or?
No, it's just you're on if you want me to just break this joke down.
Right. Yeah. Let's do it a little bit. Yeah.
When you're on a flight.
Right.
Doesn't matter what the airline is.
Right. Okay.
You often find yourself fighting for the armrest. This flight only had 2 passengers. And they're at it again.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Well,
it's not that funny.
But it's weird because I mean, so like, but why even bother mentioning the? So what's the flight that the guy got dragged off? Was that Delta?
United.
Okay. So why even bother? I don't understand why they bothered to mention the name of the airline in the joke.
Here's the other joke that was claimed that Conan O'Brien stole from Robert, in parentheses, Alex Kasberg. Okay, it turned out the Washington Monument is 10 inches shorter than previously thought. It has been a cold winter when even a monument has shrinkage.
Yeah, okay.
Again, it's not saying that's a particularly good joke. It's kind of like, it's pretty generic.
Yeah.
Which goes into, a larger, broader discussion is with a lot of these comedians like on our list of who are being accused of joke thieves. The problem with the jokes that they're using that are being accused of are they're pretty kind of generic topical topics where a lot of people are going to be thinking of that sort of thing and coming to the same sort of conclusions in the same joke.
Yeah, I mean, even in watching those Amy Schumer joke stealing, montages or compilations or whatever, even when you're watching those, you're like, it's like you guys are reaching a little bit on that,
Moving on to, and we're going back to Carlos Mencia. There's that video of him in 2007 at the Comedy Store, and Joe Rogan confronts him on stage. Have you seen that?
Yeah, we watched that. Yeah.
They don't even know what the fuck I do. They don't know shit. You just talk shit. It's easy to say you steal shit. I could say you steal shit, but I don't, because I'm not a little bitch.
Yeah, so it's over a joke by Ari Shafir.
Here's this new thing. I don't know if you guys heard this. He wants to build a new wall all down the California-Mexico border, like a 12-foot-high brick wall. It's like 3 feet deep, so no Mexicans get in. But I'm like, dude, Arnold, who do you think is going to build that wall?
I propose that we kick all the illegal aliens out of this country. Then we build a super fence so they can't get back in. And I went, who's going to build it?
So anyway, so that was the big thing of that 2007 Joe Rogan video. But I remember when that came out, and there was controversy on a comedian board. And I actually heard Bill Maher do the exact same joke.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
so,
no, that's...
again, it's not like, oh, Bill Maher is in the part of the, the Illuminati conspiracy as well. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's an obvious joke. They're building a wall on the Mexican border. They're keeping out Mexicans, but who are you going to get to build the wall? Essentially, if you broke it down to the parts of that joke.
Yeah. And
so a lot of people are going to come to that conclusion, at the same time.
Yeah. Carlos Mencia. That's still my favorite part. Still my favorite part of that video.
But yeah, and again, if you listen to WTF, there's just a lot of inexcusable things that Mencia did. He stole from this comedian Freddie DeSoto, who was one of his opening acts. It would take him on the road, and then the guy died. And then a month later, I think Mencia was at the Improv maybe, and he just started doing Freddie DeSoto's jokes.
Oh my god!
And it was at the height of Mind the Mencia, and some comic was backstage going, cut his mic. He's doing Freddie, his dead friends jokes, or his dead opening acts jokes.
Oh my god!
And whoever the manager was it's a packed crowd. He has the hit TV show, what can we do?
Oh man, so Mind the Mencia, dude, that's that was only on for 2 years, dude, 3 years. 4 seasons,
that's kind of they try to make that when the Chappelle Show, they quit doing that. Then suddenly Mind the Mencia popped up to kind of fill the slack. But that was just on 2 seasons.
4 seasons actually, yeah.
And again, it's also about being, if you're a niche comedian, say your whole bit is about being a new dad, and that you're the new dad comic.
Yeah.
What's it all your routines and materials about being a new dad. So again, there's only so many new dad jokes that can be written. And so therefore, if you're going to go down that, if that's your shtick, there's going to be crossovers of premises. And therefore, if you have crossovers of premises, there's going to be similarities amongst, comedians like that.
Yeah.
But then again, there's just blatantly stealing.
Yeah.
that helps is the similarity.
Yeah, that doesn't help. That doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. So, it could be you're a niche comic, so therefore, in that niche comedy genre, you're going to have crossover, or you're a niche comic, and there's going to be crossover because you're actually just stealing people's material.
Yeah, then you got to do your thing. New dad material.
Again, with a lot of the videos I checked out online, and it even got addressed in an episode of Louis, there was the big controversy in the comedy community. I think in the outside world it wasn't a big controversy about Dane Cook stealing some of Louis C.K.'s material.
We'll do tell.
There's just like a video that kind of mashes up a few of Dane Cook's bits with Louis C.K.'s bits.
I'd like to give my kid an interesting name, you know? Like a name with no vowels, maybe, you know? Just like... Just like 40 Fs, that's his name.
I already have names picked out. I don't even know. First kid, boy, girl, I don't care. The first one that comes out, I'm naming it... I think it's beautiful. It's feminine but strong at the same time. Time for bed.
But again, it's just like with those bits, they were kind of really general sort of topic type bits.
Uh-huh.
You know, you could easily come to similar conclusions. But then again, they both kind of started their comedy in Boston, you know, around the same time.
Yeah, so is Dane Cook still around? He was like really big at one time.
Yeah, he played like Madison Square Garden or something.
Yeah.
I just checked out his like tour schedule, and it's all the Laugh Factory.
Okay, well, all right, well, good for him.
Or maybe I thought he was like banned from the Laugh Factory for harassing a waitress. But but then there was that episode of Louis where Dane Cook was on, and that was kind of one of the themes of the episode.
2006. That should have been like my triumph. And I enjoyed it, Louis, for maybe 2 months. 2 months before it started to suck. Because everything I read about me was about how I stole jokes from you, which I didn't.
I kind of think you did.
Dude, why would I steal 3 jokes from you when I have hours of material? Why? Why would I do that? Risk my reputation?
Because they were funny jokes.
Yeah, so, you know, unlike, having a patent, the creators can't get ownership of ideas or facts or events on which jokes are based, only in the matter in which they are expressed.
Okay, so like who would be the would there be somebody that can copyright a joke? So you were saying that.
A few years back, we had a show called Jokey, and we actually went down that avenue of seeing, you know, who owns copyrights to stand-up things. So you can own a copyright to a material if it's like an HBO special. So HBO owns that special, or, you know, whoever owns the copyrights to a TV special.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't really copyright an individual joke. So that's another thing about joke thieves like Carlos Mencia is like, okay, you can get someone on the road that's like their signature piece. And then Carlos Mencia or someone like him does the joke on their TV special. It's immediately theirs because they have the larger kind of arena in which to perform it, which is TV.
Right, okay, all right.
There's nothing for the other comedian to do because it's just that material has just been killed because the guy who stole it did it on like a TV special. Oh, so there's another thing about joke thievery. Again, Dane Cook once accused Steve Burns of stealing his essence.
Okay, yeah, talk about that. What does that mean?
Kind of like a stage persona.
Okay.
But he called it stealing his essence.
It's like stealing his soul. Like if you took a picture.
It's no Jay Mohr stealing from Rick Shapiro.
What is this? So tell me about this.
What?
About Jay Mohr stealing from our friend Rick Shapiro.
Oh, didn't you just see a video on Jay Mohr stealing from Rick Shapiro? No, I
did, but we have to tell this to the people, dude. It's not just you and me having a conversation.
Oh, I thought that's what I was playing it off to you to fill us in.
Okay. No, I watched it. I didn't really get it. I think you need to explain it because I kind of got it, but not really.
Sure. So when Jay Mohr was hired to be on Saturday Night Live, and there's a funny story about Louis C.K. when Jay Mohr started coming up in the New York clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And like some comic was walking with Louis C.K. and he saw Jay Mohr on stage for like the first time, and Louis like afterwards was just like swearing and just like it was like Jay Mohr was like a jockey kid from Jersey,
right? Yeah.
You know, kind of like a good-looking jockey kid, mm-hmm. And like Louis C.K. was like, "This isn't for them. Yeah. He doesn't need this."
Yeah.
So I think Jay Mohr just like got on Saturday Night Live, you know, right away. And you can actually find his like audition tape on YouTube. And it was
Right.
like, I don't know. I think he was just doing like a lot of impressions and
Well,
shit.
Christopher Walken did.
Christopher Walken. Yeah, I think he did like a Christopher Walken's maybe. And I think he was on maybe 2 years on SNL.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, if you hear a lot of WTF, like it's really competitive in the writing room to get like your sketches like on air.
Right.
And he basically saw a friend of ours, Rick Shapiro, and he essentially just wrote down word for word one of Rick Shapiro's bits and then turned it into a sketch.
I'd like to do a character right now that I'm not supposed to say his name, but Jay Mohr stole it. Wrote about it in his book that he stole it. Said I was getting paid, and I didn't get paid a dime. So he lied again after he confessed. And all these comics go, Jay confessed, man. I said, are you a man? 8 comics the day it came out, sitting at a bar, each turned around and goes, Jay confessed. Pretty cool of him, right? Jay confessed. I said, he didn't confess to me. So he confessed. I go, no, he didn't. If you're shaving and you stole something, when you have that moment, it says, I should call the guy I stole this from.
The show aired, the sketch aired. Then one day, one of the executives of SNL asked like Jay Mohr into the office, and he popped in a VHS tape of Rick Shapiro doing his stand-up routine of the sketch, like word for word, in Lorne Michaels' office. He was doing this, and he asked, "Do you know who Rick Shapiro is?" And Jay Mohr said, "No." So you've never heard this routine before? And he said no. And then, Lorne Michael went, "Okay, that's all we need to know."
Dude, no, what's his name from SNL? That's your impression?
Yeah.
That's your Lorne Michaels? Yeah, okay. All right, good. I like it, dude.
Yeah, so as it turns out, Jay Mohr, and he actually ended up writing about this in his biography, didn't know Rick Shapiro because he wrote down his routine word for word, and they actually ended up having to pay Rick Shapiro some money because he stole his bit, and that routine has never re-aired on SNL.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to poke around for the skit, but I don't seem to find it anywhere.
Yeah. There's a video online, and it says in the video that sketch has never re-aired, probably because it was stolen, and they had to pay money to Rick Shapiro, and maybe part of the lawsuit was that it would never re-air again.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
So maybe like Rick Shapiro, wanted to do it. I mean, because like the video of Rick Shapiro doing it, I think that was dated and telling the story that Jay Mohr stole the bit.
Right.
I think that was like from 2013 or something.
Yeah.
But then again, I watched Rick Shapiro's thing, and I didn't recognize, again, I don't watch SNL that much. So, maybe Rick Shapiro, has repurposed his own bit.
Yeah, I know. I wish they had the bit on the YouTube so you could find it, but
Yeah, but you get the idea. But I think it's just like, again, in what Carlos Mencia, Carlos Mencia's like earliest stand-up, he was just basically, when he first started out, was just doing jokes from joke books,
Right, yeah.
Like these people that, they're good salesmen, but they can't manufacture the product.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, they're stealing the material.
Exactly.
So, again, that's like a whole nother level. And then, with Carlos Mencia, you get to a certain level and you just feel you just got to keep putting out material. But in his case, I think he's pretty much a sociopath.
Yeah, no, that's Ned Holness.
Mm-hmm.
Ned.
Oh, his real name.
Yeah. I think we've touched on this before. Yeah, well, he's got his followers. He's got his signature bit, the doot-de-dee, doot-de-dee. That's his signature bit, by the way.
Is it? Because I didn't know what you were doing.
No, that's Carlos Mencia. Because like if you're dumb, you're dee-dee-dee. That's what he says.
I just think there's, in comedy also, it's just like you come across occasionally these bad eggs that will do anything to become famous, whether it's like just steal or just have no integrity or soul. points to Carlos Mencia is like, he would just like bump comedians.
Mhm.
Like someone's headlining a club, he would go to the club owner, can I go on? And he's like, Mind the Mencia's #1. And they put him on before the headliner, whose name is on the marquee, and he would do 2 hours in front of the headliner.
Yeah.
And
kind
then
of kill.
the headliner can't do anything. He's
Yeah.
just like, and he would just do that just to be a dick.
Oh my god! Oh dear! All right.
Yeah. Because he would say, I see these people that accuse me, and I look at them in the back of the room, and I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. Kind of just like a alpha male bullshit sort of thing.
Okay, well that's fair enough.
Yeah, so again, which brings us back to Amy Schumer. I mean, again, there's like lists of jokes that are very similar to, like say David Tell's joke.
You ever black out when you're drinking, or as I call it, time travel? Yeah.
Has anyone ever blacked out and been awake when they've come out of it? Thank you, sister. It's kind of cool because you're a time traveler. You're just like back in your body, like.
I mean, a lot of those too, even the ones because those are the ones I was watching.
I think the guy should pay on the first date
for
sex.
For sex, yeah. I mean, I don't know. A lot of those are just kind of. Yeah, it's like, was it stealing or is it just, it goes back to that. It is just such a broad premise, and then some of the ones.
Again.
I mean, I'm just saying, it's such a broad premise. And then, like, the one they bring up a lot about her and Patricia O'Neill stealing the ghosting sex thing. And that's, like, kind of, it's like, I don't know, dude. You guys are talking about something that's an Urban Dictionary. I don't know, really, if that's how stolen that is,
It's sort of generic. It's like dating jokes or texting jokes.
Yeah.
It's not really like it's a joke that's so out there where you go, oh, there's only one person would think that way of that, and it's like and there's really only two people who know for sure if a joke is stolen. It's like Amy Schumer or Jesus.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then who do you trust?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like if the person has integrity, they're not stealing jokes. If they don't, if they're like, kind of like, I'm going to succeed no matter what, if it takes stealing a dead guy's joke, I used to open up for me, I'm going to be the one who is on top.
Right.
At the end of the day.
If Ned needs to do that, Ned's got to do it.
Yeah, so anyways, I listened to that Maron podcast, and something that was so fucked up, he's like, Maron asked him, like, the thing is, like, you really love stand-up comedy, right? He's like, and Mencia went, I love stand-up comedy more than anything. I love it more than my wife, more than my kids. It's like, that's kind of fucked up.
All right.
I mean, it's just you telling some jokes on stage. I know I'm bringing it down to the most simplistic sort of thing, but you love it more than your wife and kids?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's, it's Ned. Ned's got to do what Ned's got to do, dude.
Yeah. Which brings us to modern day, and there's, in the last decade, there's been a brand new forum for joke thieves, and that is social media.
Social media.
So last year, the Big Fat Jew, he had a book deal.
So tell me about the Big Fat Jew. I'm intrigued by the name.
Dude, you don't research any of this shit, do you? I mean, I sent you a bullet point list with all the links.
I got it. No, but you can't see. That's what I'm saying. You can't assume that everybody out there knows about who the Big Fat Jew is.
Okay. Tell us who the Big Fat Jew is in your words.
He was a guy who's been stealing stuff from social media.
Well, stealing from comedians and
right.
posting on social media.
Yeah.
So he has about 5 points. This is last year's statistics. He has 5.7 million Instagram followers, and he has numerous brand sponsorships where he gets up to $6,000 a post, and it's in that whole realm of Emperor's New Clothes of if you're a social media sensation or a YouTube star, and again, We went and we covered like the big YouTube star convention,
Yeah.
where suddenly because you have millions of followers, people equate that to talent.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll get things like book deals and TV show offers because you've built your social media following. And this is just a guy who did that. I think like his background is marketing,
Mm-hmm.
So essentially he would put like on his Instagram account, like I think early on he would just put comedians' jokes and credit them. And then after a while he would just put the jokes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, and then like you were saying, then he winds up getting a book deal and everything out of it from just taking people's material.
Yeah, so essentially you go, oh, what's the harm in that? Well, the harm is he's the one getting the comedian, the uncredited comedian is the one who is building his brand, and he's the one getting, the book deal and the brand sponsorship, and he's not giving any of that money he gets from his book deals or brand sponsorship by stealing people's material. He's not giving that money back to the comedians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and his stuff is pretty more or less cutting and pasting, like literally. Whereas the other comedians you could say with the Amy Schumer stuff, you could go, oh well, that might, who knows where this comes from or what have you. But then no, he is literally cutting and pasting other people's stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like just laziness.
Yeah, it's laziness, but it's work. It works for him.
Well, it works, but again, he has no credit, and he was, slammed and everything when his book came out like last year, and again, a guy who has no conscience of it and is just raking in cash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, there's like, there's been numerous comedians that have complained, like suddenly like friend will go, have you seen this Instagram post? And it'd be like their joke.
Yeah.
Like no credit or anything.
Yeah, no, this is we'll put it in the story, but the helpful article that you've sent me, let's put it in the story, is pretty much it's side by side comparisons of like here's the original joke, here's what the guy did, literally cut and paste.
Yeah, and then also a few years back there was a Twitter guy, Sammy Rhodes. He was a campus pastor in University of South Carolina. Again, huge Twitter following, but suddenly it turned out his nickname became Borrowing Sammy.
Oh, no.
Because he would just again, and this is like another level of it, where he would take like Patton Oswalt jokes and Maria Bamford jokes, change one little element of it and, make it his own.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I could read one, like...
Let's hear it, yeah.
But there's a blog that just kind of lists side by side. And again, I think with him, it's more just being it's being a complete hack. Well, it's being a thief and a complete hack. Because he would legitimize it by going, comedians have formulas which they write their jokes, and I'm just taking the formulas that comedians use to write my jokes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really, because like comedians are the ones sort of connecting these dots. And kind of like, much like a mathematician would create a formula with a conclusion, essentially a good joke is like that. And you're just taking the same math formula and coming to the exact same conclusion, and kind of just dressing it up a little bit.
Right. I get some tweets from Borrowing Sam. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the original joke. I think I might take a job as Ray Davies' trainer. Still working out the kinks. Right, so that's the original one. And then
who did that? Who did that?
Alex Sulkin.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and then here's Borrowing Sammy, and this is what he had to say. I'm still working out the kinks, a quote. The kinks personal trainer.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Here's one I found. This is a comedian named, and again, let's source the original source here. Comedian whose Twitter handle is D. Brickashaw. His joke was, I became a master dodging people from my past who I see at grocery stores. I turned into fucking Jason Bourne. And borrowing Sammy's is, I'm the Jason Bourne of avoiding people I know in the grocery store.
Yeah, that's pretty...
And then he wrote another one, I'm the Jason Bourne of avoiding people I know in Starbucks.
Oh my god.
I'm the Jason Bourne of avoiding people on Facebook chat.
Oh, I see it, dude.
Again, it's... Yeah.
Yeah, but he gets, so the original poster gets like 13 retweets, whereas he gets like 598 on that.
Exactly. Because, again, that's not a hard thing and that's why hacks are hacks, because they don't have an original thought in their head. They see something that works, they go, I'm just going to change a few elements of it, and then people will think it's my own. But again, it's like the downfall of your big fat Jew and this guy borrowing Sammy is that it is on Twitter, it is on Facebook, and it's easily provable. And once it's provable, it goes viral. You can't really hide. Like if you were a comedian, doing Upper Michigan State, one-nighters, and no one's going to see you.
Yeah. No, I'd love to see that Upper Michigan State one-nighters.
Yeah, so here's... I've done those, by the way.
How was it?
I've done a strip club in Upper Michigan.
Oh, yeah? In the Upper Peninsula? Yeah? What happened?
Yeah. Oh, it was awful. We had to go on, right before the strippers for a bunch of hunters.
Oh, dear. All right.
But I think, again, okay, just to kind of now just, move into our takeaway of this is that... you can't really be that much of a joke thief anymore because, like we're saying about vaudeville is chances are you wouldn't see, the two acts that are doing the same material.
Yeah.
Now, where everyone pulls out their cameras in comedy clubs, whether it's an open mic or whatever, you're going to get busted and it'll go on. It's everyone's accessible. So if it's someone's doing a Louis C.K. joke at an open mic in Florida, that could immediately go to Louis C.K. because all you have to do is just send it to him via Twitter, and it's known. So it's you can no longer run and hide.
No, everybody's out in the open now. That's good.
Yeah.
So no more stealing.
No, they're stealing.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll have to do part 2 of the podcast then.
Yeah, but it's just I don't know, I read just somewhere comedians are less inclined to steal now because it'll ruin their careers because it's just, they'll be called out on social media.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right. Well,
no one wants to be known as a joke thief.
No, nobody wants to be borrowing Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, dude, thank you very much for tuning into Comedy History 101. If you want to support the podcast, there's several ways you can do it. You can like us on iTunes, leave a comment, you can subscribe, you can actually give real physical money by going to our website, rightclicksave.com, which is rtcksave.com. But yeah, and just tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Anything?
I put it on the social media. We got to do it on the social media, the same social media that we would use to shame comedians who steal. You can yes. Share it. Share the podcast. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for listening. I think our next episode, just to give a little teaser, is going to be on comedy that crosses the line.
Oh man, that's edgy. The edgy comedy.
The edgy, because lately in the news, there's been a lot of edgy comedy.
I know, okay.
We've had Kathy Griffith being edgy.
No.
It didn't work out for her.
Yeah, you can't.
So that'll be our next episode, comedy that crosses the line.
Don't cut off the president's head. That's all I'm saying.
That's right. I'm Harmon Leon, and this is Scott Polonico. Thank you very much.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, dude.
And we're out.
You're stupid. Everybody's so stupid.
Comedy History 101.